Good morning. That was a pretty good response for such a gentle good morning. Well done. It's another glorious day in Colorado. We even have a blue sky today. Yay. Woohoo. So my name is Rick Kitzman. Welcome to Althea. Do we have any first-timers here? Oh my goodness, yay. Thank you so much for sharing your beautiful Sunday morning with us. Daryl here, our building manager, is handing out a flower just so we may acknowledge you with a warm greeting and hope that you feel good enough to fill out an email so that you can get emails, our newsletters. That's the best way to find out what's going on in the lovely Althea community. So thank you so much. Welcome, welcome. And just so you know, you first-timers here, we had 16 new members join us last week. How about that? In this day and age, that's pretty remarkable. I'll do announcements in general towards the end of the service, but I do want to make one very important announcement. And that is, and for those of you who are new, we have been in the midst of getting a new spiritual director. So that's been going on for, I think since the February is when the announcement was made. And then we've been actively searching since August, as when the job description went out on Indeed and other various sources. We have had two candidates that we were promoting, and the way the bylaws read is that the board votes on a candidate and then presents that candidate to the membership, and 30 days later, the membership votes. And it's a yay or nay. So the board has chosen Catherine Newell as the candidate to promote. Good. Now, for those of you who didn't clap, or no, just kidding. For those of you who may have missed her, we and she, of course, really want you to get to know her. So she is scheduled to speak on Halloween. So this year, Halloween falls on a Sunday, so October 31st, and November 14th. She, of course, will be doing deep dives after those two services. We are also going to be scheduling probably 2, if not 3, Zoom calls. One in the morning, like 11-ish, one in the afternoon, like 2-ish, 3-ish, and one in the evening, like 6-ish. The board is having a board meeting today, and so we will get those dates and those times out because we really want to present as many opportunities as possible for you to get to know her. And she obviously wants to get to know the congregation as well. She is a vibrant personality, and we, as the board, just feel like she is going to represent the future of Althea. And she brings a divine feminine energy with her, which, of course, as we know, that is the foundation of our lovely sanctuary here today. So that is the exciting news. Now, the letter is going to go out tomorrow because according to the bylaws, it needs to be sent 30 days in advance. You will be able to vote if you are a member within 6 months. If you have been a member for 6 months, you will be eligible to vote. The voting will be done either by proxy, and so we'll inform you all about how that is going to look. That is where you simply, if you can't come to the meeting, which will be on November 21st, after service is when the physical vote will take place. So keep that in mind, keep that date open. But if you feel uncomfortable in coming, which is understandable, and for those of you who are on Facebook or on YouTube channel, if you are a member, there will be access to a proxy to fill out and send us. That proxy will need to be received by Saturday the 20th of November because we will be voting on the 21st. So that's all going to come out in the newsletters. It's all going to be in the letter that gets mailed to the membership. So don't feel like you needed to take notes. Are there any questions, comments, cries of anguish? What? No? Okay. All right, exciting news. We are moving forward joyfully and gladly, and I think it's time for an opening prayer. So, as you are comfortable, close your eyes. Put down whatever you have in your hands and just feel as you exhale and as you inhale and exhale again. Just feel the shoulders dropping, the belly releasing its tension, the feet sinking into its foundation, with the knowledge that you are supported. And it is in this relaxation that we can focus on the divine. We can focus on what animates our breath, that still small voice within us that is us. For each and every one of you, and I think in your heart of hearts know this truth. You are a beloved child of Spirit, of God, of that divine energy. As one of our founders called it, one of our founders, Nona Brooks, called it, omni-life, all life. And yes, we are individualized, but we are a part of a greater whole. For we are one with each other all over this planet. Everyone wears the face of God. And with that truth, there can be no exceptions. For we come here on Sundays to replenish those beliefs, to seek our sanctuary in this sanctuary, to seek the peace and the joy that maybe sometimes the world outside these doors seeks to shout down. But we come here to know that that still small voice is a much more powerful force. And it is the depth of that acknowledgement that allows us to walk out relaxed, head held high, and greet that challenge, no matter what it is, with power and warmth and confidence. And so in this time of just reflection, we simply embrace this moment without worry for the past, without worry for the future. Let us focus on the joy and the peace of this moment, right here and right now. And in these moments, acknowledge whatever it is that you are grateful for it is that gratitude which opens up the infinite doors of spiritual life and love and experience and infinite creativity. A grateful heart is so wonderful. And I simply express my own gratitude for the founding women of our beautiful sanctuary here, knowing that we have been guided divinely to Catherine Newell, and knowing that this divine feminine energy will be carried on into the future, knowing that there is growth and love and potential here for the next phase of this wonderful sanctuary. And so we simply let go and just know that there is divine energy. There is always, always divine love. We just draw our focus to it. And we release and let go. And together we say, and so it is. Amen.
Please stand as you're able and join me in the statement of being, followed by the face of God. God is all, both invisible and visible. One presence, one mind, one power is all. This one that is all is perfect life, perfect love, and perfect substance. We are individualized expressions of God and are ever one with this perfect life, perfect love, and perfect substance. You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of love. I hold you in my heart. You are my family. You are the face of love.
Thank you, Daryl. Our musical guests today are Peter Wolf and Melanie Smythe. Did I pronounce that correctly? Okay, good. Phew. It was the Y. It was a dead giveaway. One of 8 kids and a Colorado native, Peter is a licensed spiritual practitioner and attends the Althea Center frequently. He has performed on the Native American flute at New Thought churches and events in Colorado, Costa Rica, and Mexico. He's also a professional actor in the Colorado and New Mexico region. A Denver native and retired accountant, Melanie, purchased her first Native American flute 6 years ago and has quite a collection now. How many is in your collection? Oh my goodness. That's wonderful. She has learned so much about how the vibration of her breath and the music touches her soul. This has been a healing journey for her, and she is finding her voice along the way. So please welcome Peter and Melanie.
So I just have to acknowledge you for that affirmative prayer. That was absolutely beautiful. Yeah. And I'd like to share a tool with you guys that many of you already are aware of, and you were led into at the beginning of that prayer. And the Heart Math Institute refers to it as heart-focused breathing. And then I'm going to teach you a second tool that you also were doing during that affirmative prayer called heart coherence. So I would just like to invite everyone to shift your awareness from your head to your heart. And oftentimes when I practice heart-focused breathing or teach it, I like to put my hand on my heart. And I invite you to breathe right into and out from that creative center, your sacred heart. Perhaps breathing a little slower and deeper than you normally would. And now I'm going to ask you to add a third step. And that is to just think of something, imagine something that causes you to go into an elevated state of emotion, such as gratitude, appreciation, love. And I'm going to invite all of us to do our best to practice this practice, which we can do any time that we're awake throughout the day or the night, to practice this practice throughout this service. This is called heart coherence. And studies show that when we practice this, we're causing our brain and our hearts to be in coherence. And studies also show that there is more information that is coming from our heart to our brains than from our brains to our hearts. I find that fascinating. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. That is wonderful energy now. Our guest speaker today, Chris Natzke, is not only a champion himself, but he has been training others to find their own inner champion for over 4 decades. As an 8th degree black belt, I'm wearing a black belt, but I don't think it has any degrees on it. Maybe degrees of the holes that get shorter and shorter. But at any rate, I digress. He's an 8th degree black belt master instructor and former national Taekwondo champion. Chris ranks in the top 1% of all martial artists in the world, and now as a life leadership coach, keynote speaker, and author. His passion is sharing his unique brand of black belt leadership so others may discover the most empowered version of themselves. So with his take of journeying in life and on the Camino De Santiago, please give a warm Althea welcome to Chris Natzke.
Thank you, Rick. I promise you there won't be a karate lesson today. Is that all right? Okay, very good. Boy, what a wonderful way to come up and speak. Where's Peter? Thank you so much for that. It was beautiful. Peter, thank you. That was an amazing way to get centered for a talk. Today, what I want to do, though, is I want to talk to you about adventure. Adventure. You know, dictionary.com says that adventure is an exciting or an unusual experience. We all know that adventure means so much more than that in so many different ways to different people. For some, it might be bungee jumping off of a bridge or skydiving out of a plane. It might mean starting a family with someone you love. It might be starting a new job, a new career. It might be going to college. Or it might be walking 500 miles across Spain, which is what I want to share with you today. But what's so interesting about adventure is that I really believe that sometimes adventure can happen spontaneously, where an instance happens in front of us and it takes us on a path. But I think most of the time, adventure starts with a seed that is planted in our mind and our heart, that oftentimes stays with us for literally decades. And many times we don't take advantage of that. We don't take the steps forward to actually seek out that adventure that's planted so deeply inside of us. Would you agree? And you know, for me, that almost happened. I was introduced to the Camino de Santiago 15 years before I ever stepped foot on the trail. My wife at the time had given me a book by Shirley MacLaine called The Camino. And we were on vacation in Hawaii, and I literally couldn't put it down. And I was like, oh, I want to do this one day. But 15 years continued to go by, and every time I'd have an inkling, something would come present in my mind where I'd say, it's just not right. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough money. I can't take off work. Can anyone relate to that? But then, one day, in mid-February, everything transformed. In the bastion of human transformation, we all know, Whole Foods. And it wasn't in the produce section, but it was just next to it. It was in one of the booths. I was sitting with my good friend Stephen. Stephen is an adventurous sort, and we had come together for what generally was a monthly get-together for lunch to talk about life, and he came incredibly excited this day. And he was so excited, he pulled out his phone, which was the biggest phone I'd ever seen. It was like a tablet, and he started putting it in front of me. He said, take a look at my bucket list. My bucket list, right? You know, everything you want to do before you kick the bucket. And he's an adventurer, so what we're seeing is the 14ers he's going to do. I'm taking a look at he's a triathlete, so all the triathlons he's going to do. And then that year, he was going to be scaling Mount Kilimanjaro. Now, I was impressed. Wouldn't you be impressed? But there was also a little bit of fear and apprehension, right? Because as he was showing this to me, I was thinking, what's on my bucket list? And I knew the question was coming when he said to me, so Chris, what's on your bucket list? And quite honestly, I couldn't think of anything. I was frozen. Maybe I was intimidated by what he had said. For whatever reason, nothing came out of my mouth. And then he said these words to me. He said, I know what's on your bucket list. It's that walk you've always talked about. I said, the walk? What do you mean? He goes, that walk in Spain. I go, oh, the Camino. He goes, I said, yeah, that's exactly. That'd be on the top of my bucket list. He said, well, why don't you do it? I said, you know what, Stephen? One day I will. He said, no, do it this year. This is mid-February, so of course I came up with all the excuses, right? Well, I don't have time, I can't get off work, oh, the flights are going to be way too expensive, this is going to be something I need to actually plan for months. But as any good friend, every time I came up with an excuse, just like a marksman, he just shot it right out of the air. And so finally what I did is I said, okay, here's what I'll do. I'll go visit our friend Kathy. Kathy had done the Camino the year before, and I don't know if I basically said that that's what I would do just to get him off my back, or if I really wanted to visit with her. But the next week, she and I sat down for tea, and she started telling me about the amazing adventure she'd had on the Camino. And all of a sudden, my mind and my heart started opening to the possibility. And then what made it even more interesting, and she said, you know what? This weekend, Dale, her boyfriend, and her were actually going to go to the Dairy Theater in Boulder, and there was a new movie out on the Camino. Now, most of you have seen The Way. Who's seen The Way? Right. In fact, I could tell 80% of the Americans on the Camino came because of that movie with Martin Sheen, right? But this was a different movie. It was called 6 Ways to Santiago. And what it did is it followed 6 pilgrims, peregrinos, from the beginning of their trail all the way to the end. And I went there, and not only was it an amazing movie, but one of the original pilgrims was there that they had filmed, and the producer. And once again, my heart started opening to possibility. And I left there knowing that's what I needed to do that year. And on May 4th, I was walking up the side of the Pyrenees Mountains. The point that I want to make there before I move on and explain a little bit more is when we set our intention on something and we allow the fear to move beside and we just move forward, the universe will conspire to open up doors. There were obstacles in my way I never thought would be out of my way, but when I set the intention, all of a sudden doors started opening. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar, this is the Camino de Santiago. It's a 500-mile walk across northern Spain. It starts on the western side of France in a place called Saint-Jean-Pierre-de-Port. And what you do is you scale up into the Pyrenees Mountains and then descend into Spain, your first spot being Rosenvalles Monastery. Then you move into Pamplona. You know where the bulls run? There were no bulls when I went, but where the bulls run there. Then you go to Burgos, Astoria, Leon, and then on the way to Santiago de Compostela. Now, the history of that, Camino de Santiago is way of St. James the Apostle. And he's reputed to have brought Christianity to Europe. And what happened was he went all the way over Europe, and then what happened in the 8th century, of course he had died, his remains around the northern part of Spain, they exhumed his remains and they actually brought them to the point in Santiago, and they erected a huge cathedral in his honor. But the interesting point is for the last 1,000 years, what's been happening is that people have been making a spiritual pilgrimage from western France all the way over to Santiago. And it started in the early church as a penance. So a way of absolving their sins. In fact, the stories also go that many of the people who were quite rich and wealthy during the time, they didn't want to do it, so they just paid someone else to do it, right? Well, but what happened over the course of the years is it became this wonderful way for people to go within and to literally use it as a spiritual walk and a spiritual awakening. Just being able to be by yourself each and every day and put away all of the distractions you have in your life. The other thing that's so beautiful about the Camino are the people that you meet. And I loved Rick's opening prayer where he talked about the oneness, because what you find on the Camino is that each and every individual that you meet, and they come from all over the world. I made friends from Europe, from Asia, from Canada, from America, all over the place. All of the pretense kind of goes away, right? All of the roles and responsibilities you have, and we just become human beings on a search. And when you realize that and you have these amazing conversations, you understand that we're all really all the same. We're all the same. Now, the Camino has some beautiful scenery. You see there, in the upper right-hand corner, that's what it looked like when I went. These beautiful green fields, amazing cathedrals. There's me in the corner, I think probably a weekend. And then again, these amazing conversations that you have with people that you don't know, and you have this amazing connection, and then you may never see them again in your life. And in the lower right-hand corner, what you see is the symbol of the Camino, which is the shell. And what that represents, there are several Caminos that actually go to Santiago. The one that I went, the Camino de Frances, is the most popular. But what that represents are all the roads leading to Santiago. Now, some people have asked me before, how do you know how to do it? Like, how do you not get lost? Well, what happens is there's a wonderful way that they've presented yellow arrows and seashells all along the path. So if you don't know where you're going, you don't have a guidebook, just look for the yellow arrows. Kind of like life, right? Usually as we're moving around, we're bumping into things, we're probably going to find something that's going to show us the way. And the other thing that's so beautiful is that shell is something that every one of the peregrinos, or the pilgrims, will have on their backpack. And it's a symbol of being a pilgrim on the Camino. And many times you'll go through a village, see a villager there, and they'll say, buen camino, which is to have a beautiful Camino, right? To walk the path. And that will be your salutation with your people throughout. So, why is this so important? Well, it's not just an adventure that happens in the physical, as you know. I mean, walking anywhere for that amount of time, I did about 17 to 18 miles a day, and did it in about 29 days. And that's kind of cool in and of itself. But that's not the gift of the Camino. The gift of the Camino is what happens on the inside and the lessons that we learn. And so that's what I want to share with you this morning. Because what I have is 3 stories that I'd like to share with you that weren't just in the moment something that really impacted me positively, but something that have lived on with me for these past 7 years. So are we good for that? All right, excellent. So the first one I want to share is the idea of slow down and enjoy the journey. Slow down and enjoy the journey. You know, it's often said is the way that you do life is the way you do the Camino. And that was certainly the place with me. Being a competitive athlete my whole life, I was up at 5:15 every day on the trail at 6:15, and I was going to the next place, and I was not to be stopped. No one could get in my way. But it was just natural for me. Now, it was beautiful when I would be up early in the morning, because I'd be getting out on the trail about sunrise. The only sounds you would hear is you could feel the wind, and the birds would begin to wake up, and I could hear my feet literally just crunching on the gravel as I walked. But what I realized was as I was continuing to do this, I had gotten into this rhythm, just like I had at home, which is get up, go to work, move, move, move. And what was happening was there were things and beautiful things for me to observe right in front of me that I was letting pass right by. And it took me almost halfway through the Camino to have a revelation. And it happened in this tiny little village. It was about 9 o'clock in the morning, and I was walking in, and the village was literally asleep still at 9 o'clock. I don't know what those Europeans do, man, but they're like sleeping, right? And so I'm walking through, and as I'm moving by, something catches my eye, but I continue to walk about 10 paces, and I stop. And I go back, because I'm curious, and I look, and it says, refuge for the peregrinos. Refuge for the peregrinos. Refuge for the pilgrims. And I think, that's interesting. And I begin to walk up the steps to go up, and then I stop right at the doorway. Because, of course, my monkey mind starts now, right? It must be a tourist trap. They're going to try to steal my money. You know, I'll be off schedule. So I make my way back down the steps, and I continue on, right? So I went to the next village. I set up. The next day, I went on my walk again, and I completed a full day. And I got to the end of the day, and I went into a restaurant. And when I walked into the restaurant, there was a whole group of friends I had made on the Camino, a number of Americans and Canadians. And as soon as I walked into the restaurant, they were waving at me at the table to come join them. So coming late for dinner, the last seat was at the head of the table. So I sat there and ordered my meal. And a gentleman to the left of me, who was from San Francisco, said, hey, let's do a little exercise right now. Let's talk about the most amazing things we've done on the Camino so far. He goes, let me start. He goes, did anyone the other day see the refuge for the peregrinos? He goes, it was amazing. I walked in there. They handed me cookies and hot tea, and there was a warm fire and soft music playing. He said, I sat there for 2 hours, and it was the most amazing experience I've had. Now, most of you are old enough to remember the Flintstones. Anyone remember the Flintstones? Remember Fred Flintstone when he'd be embarrassed and he'd go, whoop, 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 and he'd shrink? That was me at the head of the table, right? So I raised my hand, and I told him the story, and from that point, I slowed down. From that point, I slowed down. I still got up early in the morning, did my walk, but every 9 o'clock, what I would do is I'd stop and I'd find a cafe, and I'd have a pain au chocolat. Anyone know what that is? Chocolate croissant, right? And I'd watch the world go by for a little bit, and rather than eat my lunch on the trail, you know, like I did, almost not even stopping to walk, I'd sit at another cafe, and I'd connect with people, and that's when things started to open up. That's when the awareness has started to come present. So my question for you is where do you have an opportunity to do that in your own life? Where are you racing from one thing to the other and seeing there's so many things that are right in front of us that we let go by? Because when we slow down and we're able to take that magic in, when we center in our hearts and we're in the coherence that Peter was talking about, now all of a sudden the world begins to open up to us in ways that we've never seen before. So that was my first lesson. Second lesson has to do with something I'll call let it go and grow. Let it go and grow. Now, one of the things about the Camino is that you find that you will make some deep friendships with people, and oftentimes these people become your walking partners. And in my case, I had someone who walked with me for about 10 days. His name was Benoit. He was from Quebec in Canada. And he also had a walking partner for the first couple days we were together. Her name was Carolina. She was a blonde, dreadlock Buddhist from the Czech Republic. You get the picture, right? And so we'd all walk together, and then Carolina went off on her own after about 5 days. But Benito, now as he liked to be called, since he was trilingual, he not only was fluent in English, but also Spanish and Spanish and French. And so rather than Benoit, he transformed into Benito, okay, on the trail. And we had this wonderful connection, and we also had this agreement with each other. Because when we were walking down the path, and he's about 10 years older than me, very fit, and we would walk at about the same pace. I was, though, much more attuned to walking uphill. So when we had incline, I was the goat that could make it up the hill. He was much more proficient going downhill. So we had this agreement that, if it was just a natural way for us to walk, we'd go off on our own and we'd meet again later. Well, about 2/3 of the way through the Camino, there is a wonderful, wonderful experience called Cruz De Ferro. In fact, if you look at that slide, it's a little difficult to see, but in the upper left-hand corner, what Cruz De Ferro is, it's this beautiful cross that is 5 meters high on a pole, and then there's a cross on top, and you can see that pile of rocks there. And if you look in the lower right-hand corner, you can see a bunch of trinkets. And what pilgrims have done for literally decades is they've come up and made the walk up to Cruz De Ferro and literally laid stones down or trinkets down as a representation of something they wanted to let go in their life. So it's my day to do Cruz De Ferro, and true to form, I'm a little bit faster going uphill. You have to travel about 1,000 meters up in order to get there, and it's the most gorgeous day. It's like today, right? And I'm going up, and it just so happens that I meet this beautiful Norwegian woman, and we're walking up together. I mean, this is heaven for a single guy, right? I'm like, this is the Camino, right? And I'm going up, and I'm doing my thing, and I get to the very top, and now I have to wait for Benito to arrive. So I wait about 20 or 30 minutes for him to show up, and he finally does, and now he and I make our way up onto the hill. Each one of us has some rocks and stones with some writing on it that we're going to give away. We're going to let go. So the thing that I was letting go that day is having the need to always be the best, always push myself, always and be down on myself when I'm not finishing first. All those things that we put in our mind. Anyone like me, right? Like you're always pushing yourself. And so when I did that, I literally, when I set it down, tears started streaming down my eyes. Benito did the same thing. And now our time at Cruz De Ferro was over, and we made our way down, because now we've got about 1,000 meters that we need to go down. And we go down about 10 minutes. We have a beautiful lunch, and we complete our lunch, and he says, okay, are you ready? I said, yeah, I am. And he pops up, he puts on his backpack, and he makes his way down the hill, and that's when it happened. I watched a human being transform into a gazelle. This man was downhill skiing down the entire path. And I'm trying to keep up with him. And as hard as I tried, I couldn't do it. And I started getting angry. And I started to get upset with myself. But I started more getting upset with him. Right? And now I'm going down this hill trying to keep up with him, because I think he just transformed into Lindsey Vonn. And he's just like skiing down this hill. And now, about an hour and a half in, I start to develop a really bad shin splint on my left leg. So not only am I trying to keep up with him, but I'm limping as I'm trying to keep up with him. Well, this goes on for about 2.5 hours. And finally, make it down to the village, and I'll never forget, there's Benoit, his arms on a bench with his feet up and his legs crossed. And he looks at me and he goes, I was beginning to wonder if you were ever going to make it down the hill. So now I'm just a little upset right now, right? So then he says to me, I am going to do my marathon today. Are you? Marathon. For whatever reason, I had agreed the day before that we were going to do a 26-mile hike that day. And he said to me, the next village is 10 kilometers away. I am going to do my marathon today. Are you? And I said, yes. So off he went. Again, he begins becoming a gazelle going down the hill, and I'm limping behind him. This goes on for another 2 hours, and now I'm in extreme pain. But I make my way into the village, and I'm limping in, and he's sitting leaning against a bridge, and I am ready to just let him have it. How could my friend leave me behind? Didn't you see I was in pain? All these things are going through my mind. And when I get about 50 yards from him, all of a sudden it hits me. I'm not mad at him. I'm mad at me. And Chris, 4 hours ago, what did you let go of up on that hill? Wasn't all about not needing to be the best and not needing to always finish first, and now all of a sudden, it was right there in front of you. Literally 20 minutes after you laid those stones down, the universe gave you that opportunity right there. I happen to believe that when we are very intentional about something, so let's say a way of being that we want to change inside of ourselves, it's not like we pray for something, then instantly it happens. Like, for instance, if you're a parent, anyone a parent here? You know, any parent ever ask for patience? God, please, patience, right? It's not like you go to bed, you know, before you go to bed at night, you pray for patience, and then you wake up and you're Mother Teresa. Have you noticed that? What happens is you ask for a quality to come into you, and then the universe gives you opportunities to be that way. So if you ask for patience, all of a sudden people start cutting you off in traffic. Or your kids really start getting on your nerves, or all of a sudden that person is so slow in the grocery line. You have to be patient. And what I realized through that experience is that that's the gift the universe gave me. And where has that ever happened for you? And are there signs right now, and are there things that are happening in your life that you're being asked to let go? In fact, I was told by Ginny Wright that they like to do little exercises. Then you told me. So are you up for a little exercise right now? A little exercise? So here's what you're going to do. You're just going to turn and face someone next to you. Just turn and face someone next to you. All right. And you're going to be talking to each other, by the way. So you can get a little, if it feels comfortable, get a little closer. And here's what I want you to do. We're just going to do just a little question and answer with each other. So we're going to do partner A and partner B. Okay? So partner A, partner B. So partner A, raise your hand. Partner A, raise your hand. Who's good? Right? Okay, good. Partner B is going to go first. All right. So here's how we're going to do this. All I want you to do is just tell the person that you're with something that you would like to let go of in your life and why that's important to you. So all I want you to do, and then then the other person will go. So what's something you want to let go of in your life and why it's important to you, and then the other person goes. Take about a minute to do this. Discuss. And if the second person hasn't gone, go ahead and share. Second person. And let's bring that to a close. Let's bring that to a close, please. Nobody wanted to start. Now we can't get them to be quiet, right? You know how that works? May I have your awareness, please? Very good. Thank your partner. Give my air high five. Very good. All right. Very good. So, is anybody willing to share what came up for them? Something they'd like to let go? Yes, right here. Letting go of fear? Very good. Yeah. It's usually the base of almost everything, right? Very good. Anyone else? Something you want to let go of? Anger, which is probably rooted in fear, is it not? Right? But anger. Yes, ma'am. Worry. That's me. You know, a lot of times people, 8th degree black belt, warrior. No, worrier. I mean, that's what I have to deal with a lot. So I get what you're saying. Did anybody have the experience that when they were sharing with their partner that they realized that they might have the same things that they're letting go of? Yeah. You know, so many times in our lives we think we're the only ones. And so we're hesitant to share, we're hesitant to express what's going on, but quite honestly, we're all dealing with it, right? And so know that, and know it's healthy. And usually at the other end of letting go is where the magic starts to appear. Letting go of the fear, letting go of the worry, letting go of the old way of being. And that was my experience on the Camino. Now, it doesn't mean that those things of trying to always push myself super hard, never show up again in my life, but now I have a different awareness of it. And you can have that too. All right, I'm going to share my third story with you. And this has to do with cherishing people that are closest to you. Cherishing people that are closest to you. You know, I said before that one of the beautiful things on the Camino were the number of people that you got to meet along the way. And people that I would have these deep conversations with, and I'd never see them again. One man from Germany who I walked with for 2.5 hours, who was on the trail with 4 of his buddies, and every summer they would walk 500 kilometers together somewhere in the world. And this time they were walking the Camino, and this man knew more about American politics than I could ever care to know, right? There was a man who I had helped on the path, and then later on I was having some knee problems, and then he did Reiki on my knee one day, and all of a sudden the next day all the pain went away. And then there was my friend Carolina. We were walking one day, and it was one of the 3 days that it rained on the Camino. I'll never forget. And we're walking, and she had known my story, and in mid-stride she stopped, turned, grabbed me by the shoulders, and shook me, and she said, "You don't have to hold on to the anger and the resentment and the shame anymore about your divorce. You can let it go." But the one that stands most present in my mind is what I learned from my friend Cecile from Toulouse, France. I was walking on the Camino one day, probably about 3/4 of the way through the last major city before reaching Santiago. And I was walking on the path. Remember I told you about the yellow arrows? So I'm walking in a straight line thinking that's the path, and all of a sudden I hear someone yell from behind, "Stop, stop! That's not the way." So I stopped, and here comes Cecile in a brisk walk toward me. She's probably about 5'4", middle-aged woman, brown hair, blue eyes, and she says, "That is not the path. The arrow is there." And I look, and there's the arrow. So she literally saved me possibly hours. So we began to walk together, and we got to know each other. Now, even though I was slowing out on the path at that time, her pace was pretty slow. So after about 15 minutes, I excused myself and went on my way. However, now, after about 2-3 hours on the path, I decide I'm going to go to a little cafe that's just adjacent to the path. It's maybe about 40 or 50 feet away from literally the trail. And I set up and I'm watching literally the pilgrims just walk by. I'm literally watching life walk by. And after about sitting there for about 20-30 minutes, all of a sudden I see Cecile walking down the trail. And as soon as she sees me, her arms start doing this, and she starts waving, and she comes over to me all excited, and she says, Chris, can I have lunch with you?" I said, "Well, of course." So she went, she got her food, and she sat down. So we began to re-engage in conversation and talking about our lives, our personal experiences, etc. And then she says, "Well, what do you do for a living?" I said, "Well, I do several things, but one of the things I do is I'm a life coach." And all of a sudden her eyes lit up. "You're a life coach? You're a life coach? Oh my gosh. I'm on the Camino because of my life coach. In fact, my life was so out of whack, my boss made me get a life coach. Otherwise, he was going to fire me." I thought, I need that guy to market for me, right? So anyway, what happens is she begins to tell her story about how isolated she had been in her work, and that she didn't have really any friends outside, and she was just constantly just staying to herself, and her life was totally out of balance. And then she looked at me and she said, "You realize that in the last 2 weeks, I've talked to more people on this trail than I have in the last 20 years? And then she got quiet. And she looked at me and she said, "Tuesday was my mother's 80th birthday." Now, we were talking on a Friday. She said, "Tuesday was my mother's 80th birthday. And I called her up to wish her happy birthday. And for the first time in my life, I told my mom, 'I love you.'" Well, it didn't take long for us both to be in tears, right? And what I realized from that experience is that how many times are we going through life, how many times am I going through life where I'm taking for granted the people that are closest to me, where I'm not allowing my heart to open, where I'm not taking the time to say I love you to those that are near and dear to me. And it made me think a whole different way about my relationship with my mom and my stepfather and also my sons, etc. And so I guess what I'd ask you is, how is that working for you? Are you taking the time to really be with the people that you love? Cecile had to walk 400 miles to get to that point. We could maybe do it sometimes by walking down the hall. But where is that opportunity for you to do that in your own life? Because it's something that was transformational for me, and I'm not saying that I'm always spot on with it, but now, as they say, the first step in transformation is awareness. And once you have that awareness, now you can start working toward it. So, that's what I wanted to share with you this morning. So, I've got one more slide here, and I want to end with this, is that I'm going to be doing, what do we call it at the end? I'm doing the deep dive. I'm going to be doing a deep dive, so would love to have you share that with me. I'll be telling some more stories if you're interested, doing a Q&A, and plus I have an exercise that we're going to do to kind of go a little bit deeper in that. But whether you stay or not, my wish for you is that you are able to walk your life journey, whether it's here, wherever it is, that you're able to slow down and enjoy it. That you're able to let go of the things that are no longer serving you, even though it may be one of the most challenging things you ever do. And that you slow down enough so that you can cherish the relationships you have with those closest to you. And on that, my friends, I wish you buen camino. Thank you.
This is a reading by Thomas Merton, a Trappist monk who died in 1968, American. The Pilgrim Prayer. My Lord God, I have no idea where I am going. I do not see the road ahead of me. I cannot know for certain where it will end. Nor do I really know myself. And the fact that I think I am following your will does not mean that I am actually doing so. But I believe that the desire to please you does, in fact, please you. And I hope I have that desire in all that I am doing. I hope that I will never do anything apart from that desire. And I know if I do this, you will lead me by the right road, though I may know nothing about it. Therefore will I trust you always, though I may seem to be lost and in the shadow of death. I will not fear, for you are ever with me, and you will never leave me to face my perils alone.
Can you hear me now? We'll work through this. Melanie and I are each going to do a solo. And this is an opportunity for audience participation. We have a handful of percussion instruments, a couple of drums, some shakers. We even have a cowbell. So can somebody help hand those out? And if you don't have a percussion instrument, you can make your own. You could use your leg, the chair, the person's head in front of you. Maybe not that. But we invite you to join in. And I want to share just a little bit about these flutes that we're going to be playing. These are each tuned at 432 hertz. 432 hertz is considered the earth tone, the frequency of Grandmother Earth. And interestingly enough, there was a time when virtually all instruments were tuned at this very healing, calming frequency of 432 hertz. And then for some reason, the powers that be, many years ago, decided that we didn't deserve to listen to 432 hertz music anymore, and so virtually all musical instruments suddenly were tuned at 440 hertz, which is a little more chaotic. So see if you can notice a difference in the way you feel as you continue to practice your heart coherence, breathing deeply, slowly into and out from your sacred heart as you imagine something, someone, a sacred relationship perhaps that you have in your life. And just breathe and enjoy.
I just recently purchased this flute. I never thought I was going to get a 432 because most people don't have them. But my son plays the singing bowls, and he and I are going to do some performances together, and so I think that this will sound really nice with the crystal singing bowls. And so one of the guys in our flute circle started making these last year when everybody was locked down, and so these are pretty cool. He calls them the healing flutes, and he's got like stones of the colors of the chakras in there. So I really like this. It's kind of new to me, so I'm going to go for this. But the song I'm going to play is "Can This Circle Be Unbroken?" I'm sure some people might know it, so here it goes. Ooh. One more time. Thank you.
Thank you, Melanie. And this song I'm going to play is one I composed many years ago, and it's called Soaring on the Wings of Spirit. think we need more cowbell.
Thank you. Thank you very much to our musicians, and thank you to Barbara Vale for that beautiful reading. Beautiful reading. Barbara is always responsible, pretty much always, for setting up this beautiful altar here every Sunday, very patiently, very lovingly. And for those of you who are new, if you have an object that represents someone or something that you want blessing or to release or some sort of engagement spiritually, bring that object, place it there at the beginning of the service, and to absorb all the energy of these wonderful services that we have here. And just remember to take it with you when you leave. It is time to show our gratitude for our beloved Althea Center. And so if we could have the ushers start passing around baskets. And are you going to be playing during this? Yeah, and so our musicians will also accompany this. And for those of you who no longer carry cash, we do have our dip jar in the back. And you just pull out a credit card or a debit card, and you can dip it, dippity-doo, as many times as you want. And that's certainly an easy way to give from your heart. And we also have Evergreen, where you set up a monthly donation, or weekly, or daily. You can do that as well. But thank you so much for all of your contributions, which help keep this place going. Thank you. Ushers, if you'll bring down our contributions, and we'll have our prayer of gratitude blessing from Judith Witten.
This is a favorite quote of mine from Melody Beatty. Gratitude unlocks the fullness of life. It turns what we have into enough and more. It turns denial into acceptance, chaos to order, confusion to clarity. It can turn a meal into a feast, a house into a home, a stranger into a friend. Gratitude makes sense of our past, brings peace for today, and creates a vision for tomorrow. May we use these gifts in gratitude for that vision, for this our spiritual home. We thank you with deep appreciation for your gifts, that we may use them to the good work of this center. Amen.
Thank you. Jenny, did you want to go through the future?
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I'm Ginny Castleberry, and I'm part of the team that's bringing you amazing Sundays like Chris. Thank you so much. What a beautiful journey. And our wonderful flute players. It's funny. Yes, woohoo! Melanie Smythe and Peter Wolf. Funny how these things work out. I really wanted them to come on Dia de los Muertos, which we're celebrating on Halloween. It just seemed like a good indigenous kind of pairing. They couldn't do that one. But how perfect was this for today? I felt like I was on the Camino, which is on my bucket list. How many people have it on their bucket list? Many. And what we're going to have instead on Dia de los Muertos is our wonderful front porch singers that you normally hear bluegrass music from, but they're going to do everything with a Latin theme. So that's pretty cool. And as Rick announced, Catherine Newell, our spiritual director-elect candidate, will be doing the actual service. What's cool about special days like Dia de los Muertos is we have a budget. And that means that we get to spend a little more and do cool things. So I think you're going to see some interesting rituals, maybe a little take-home object coming up, and that is Sunday the 31st. But before that, next Sunday, the 24th, is Stephen Burge, the man we love, and he's going to be doing something. I actually challenged him to do this, and here's what he's calling it: Reclaiming God. Why, in spite of everything, I refuse to be separated from Source. Whew! That's going to be powerful. So come out for that one. Michael Stanwood, our amazing didgeridoo man, will be our musical guest. Then we're in Dia de los Muertos. Then, believe it or not, it's November, folks. November 7th, dramatic healing. Healing your relationship with your amazing physical body with Randy Ferguson. Then I believe we have Catherine Newell again on the 14th. We're going to give you a couple of opportunities to get to see what she does up on this stage. So please join us. Tell your friends and family. Roll out. We have amazing things coming. Thank you.
Thank you, Ginny. Don't forget, there's the deep dive, 12:15-ish with Chris, following some little snacky poos, in addition to coffee and tea. And our prayer partners are Dick and Lee Peterson here. And if you have never had an affirmative prayer, I suggest you try one of our two practitioners here. They will meet behind the banner over there in the prayer room or in the library there. So if you have an issue or something you need a blessing for and some guidance, please take advantage of this wonderful opportunity. And don't forget, well, let's see, I just forgot. Is there anything else? Coffee and tea. I mentioned that. Chris, I think that's it. The deep dive and the announcements are on the back of your program. Oh, that was it. If you saw that sheet of paper with your opportunity to make sure we have your most recent mailing address, if you're a member, please fill that out and leave it with one of the ushers or me or, anyone who looks somewhat official. And that's just so that you can be sure and get that letter that is going to go out. All right. We have a closing prayer from Nancy Driver, and then our flute and percussion jam session will lead us out.
What a wonderful service today. I just invite you to breathe in the breath of life. That divine essence, the great I am, Spirit. And we just claim and invite that pilgrim within us, the pilgrim of the heart. And that pilgrim learns to slow down and just look at the beautiful, beautiful trees as they turn the magnificent colors of purples and greens and yellows and reds and oranges. And we just walk in that presence. We also just learn to let go of that which does not serve us, that which probably has never served us. And we just say goodbye to it all. And in that place, that pilgrim of the heart, we also cherish and love those who bring meaning to our lives, those that just help us to be more alive, to be more in love, to bring light and joy and magnificence to our lives. And from this place, we just thank you, Spirit. And we let this go on the wings of the hawk as she circles, as she flies, as she soars to the sun. And so it is. Amen.
Thank you, Nancy. Beautiful. So, as we close out this service with more song, we do invite you to participate, to be our percussion. And I noticed that the cowbell is back up here on the stage. Who would like to grab that? Let your hair down. Open up. Let's play. We've got a couple shakers here. Yes. Thank you. And let's remember to breathe. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure to be here.